What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, programmers of all ages? Welcome back to the base HaxeFlixel programming tutorial on YouTube. I would not suggest you quote me on that. I am extremely biased. In any case, last week's tutorial, I showed you how I fixed the issue that we've been having, well, that I made with the Ogmo 3 editor and its layering system, which was a bit of a noob mistake, and it should not have taken 30 videos to get to fixing it. In any case, it's fixed now. If you haven't yet, go download the updated files. They should be where they usually are in the Get Updated project. The link will be down in the description. I've showed you like 4 or 5 times now, so I don't think it's necessary to go over that again. In any case, in today's tutorial, we're starting to finalize our game. So there's like, including this one, 4 videos left. Today's video is going to be setting up the level select screen as well as the first level. It will be a long video, and in the attempt to keep things more specialized and focus on new things rather than just rehashing what we've already done, there might be a bit of copy paste as I see fit. You should have the knowledge to fill in the gaps by this point, I would hope, otherwise I'm a horrible teacher. In any case, let's get at it. First things first, we need to create a new file called level select state.hx. So we can say new file level select state.hx. Now let's just say class level select state extends flx state, and I don't currently have thingies for it, so let's just import it normally, I guess. I will admit I am not a big fan of how often HaxeFlixel or Hax specifically breaks in VS Code. It's really annoying. In any case, we can say import flixel.flx state. That should fix it, but the thing doesn't know, and I can't say, so it's on hashlink debug. If I say restart, it will just throw the same error it usually does because reasons, I guess. Actually, let's just cut this out, save it, and we say F1 restart language server. Is it doing a thing? Doesn't look like it. In any case, guess we are just gonna have a lot of things breaking, and I don't know how to fix it since I did not create the plugins and I'm a dumbass. In any case, over to menu state, menu state, and yeah, we're gonna have a lot of breaking things, and we can test to show that it's not my code that's breaking, it's just the editor. So we say line test hl-debug. It should still boot up, it should still run. The only issue is that we won't get proper syntax highlighting. I have no idea why that is the way it is, but there isn't much we can do about it. In any case, I don't know why it's taking so long. I'll be back as soon as this has finished. Okay, it has compiled, and as you can see, it's only warnings, not crashes. So these are just from the editor, and I'm at the point where I'm like, maybe I should just switch over to the Windows text editor and just go from there, because this is so annoying. Maybe I can look into Atom. Maybe Atom has something for it. I don't know. In any case, moving on. So in click play, we no longer want play state, we want level select state. I'm gonna make sure on my notes, because I just typed up, yeah, level select state. Awesome. So that is now in. One sec, I just want to test if we can use Atom, because it's annoying seeing red lines everywhere. So I'm just gonna quickly test that. Well, I tried Atom. It fortunately did not work as well as I hoped. It didn't really give autocomplete. What I have found though is that it's apparently a bug with VS Code itself. I'm not sure how we can like check for updates, maybe current update. If we go into like Lime itself, it might just be a VS Code bug currently, because if I close down here and go into YouTube and open with code, we get this little issue that pops up, and after googling it, and we can show full error, and it pops up the console of all things. In any case, it just says must have a project file or specify null valid, when using the display command. But actually, let's see what happens if we control F2. We say project.xml. Does that work? Let's see if we close it and reopen. Maybe that works. I'd be really surprised if nope, that did not work. Just see if we say show full error or not. Yeah, no, it doesn't work. I don't know why. Completion failed. Running line setup. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea why this isn't working. I found something similar back in 2019. So if we just control C that, open a terminal, open a browser window, so I can show you. So if we go, as you can see, it's a 2019 issue, and in the end the solution was just, it was a plugin update. It fixed it. Wow, great. Guys, we need another plugin update, please. In any case, I'll probably just post on that forum that it broke again and maybe check it every so often. In any case, it doesn't really matter. It's like 4 videos left. It's almost over. So what I am gonna do is a lot of copy paste, because I know that my notes work, whereas I can't realistically follow this because of the errors that you can see. In any case, let me just settings. Let me just update this so it can be 18 and we can all see better. In any case, so to start off with, I'm just gonna copy paste what we need to import so that you guys don't have so that it's done. So the first import is FLX color, second is FLXG, FLX button, FLX text, and FLX state. Those are all the things that we import from Flixel. In any case, next up is the class variables that we will need. It's really similar to what we've done every time we created a menu state thus far. You can see that we have a title, level 1 to level 3 button, a boss button, and a back button. It's pretty much what we've done this whole time. So next up is override function, and then it's the create function. And yeah, override won't work, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Hax is broken on VS Code, and I cannot wait to move on to another language after this. In any case, first off, so the title equals new FLX text. We set it at 0 on the X, Winnie on the Y, 0 on, I can't remember what this is, and we won't have any way to check on my side. You can check on your side probably. We give the title a text of level select and say it is a font size of 18. We center it, the text specifically. Then we center the text in the screen at the x-axis so that it's in the middle of the screen, so middle. And then we add it to the scene as we have done all thus far. Now I'm going to do something a bit different. Rather than having separate functions that we just pass the function, we'll just have lambda functions that we can use. So this part I'm going to type because it's something different. So we say level 3 button equals new FLX button. It is at 0.00. It has a text of level 3, and then rather than passing a function, we are just going to give it a lambda function. Can you please not? So for this part, we'll just do that. Then we say, and then for this part, it's the same as every other function. So we can just copy paste. So you can see we use lambda functions here with the camera fade as well. So we don't have infinite functions lying around. It's difficult to name functions. Like after a while, I start really running out of function names. In any case, this will be the same as having a function called level 3, click button level 3 or something, and just passing the function. We can just have a lambda function and go from there. In any case, the rest is pretty much the same as it usually is. So we can say center it in the X and the Y, because this will be like our middle button. On the up sound, we load the button press sound that we have already seen, and then we add it to the scene as we usually do. Awesome. Next up is the second button. So we say here level 2 button equals FLX button 00. We give it a text of level 2, then we give it a lambda function, which is just a simple fade to black and then transition to a state that we have yet to create. We still need to create these states. And we should probably do that before running the code because it will fail if we don't. In any case, then we center the button in the x-axis. We put it above level 3 button, as we usually do. So above level 3 by the amount of how high the button is minus an additional 2 pixels. So there's a bit of a gap. And then the on up sound to play a sound if the button is pressed. And then just add level 2 button to the scene. Next up is level 1 button. Since we pretty much already have the middle, we can just go everything above it and then everything below it. Save. So same as before, we have level 1 button equals FLX button. At 0.00 on the screen, we say it has a text of level 1 with the basic lambda function to fade the camera to black and switch the states over to level 1 as we have done. We center it in the screen. We place it above level 2 button and with an additional 2 pixel space. On the up, if the button is released, play the button press sound and then add the button to the screen, to the scene. Next up is the boss button. This will go below button number 3 or button for level 3. So we have boss button equals new FLX button at 0.00 boss with the text of boss level, a lambda function which fades the camera to black and then switches the state to boss level state. It's centered in the x-axis. It is 2 pixels additionally below level 3 button. It has the same button press sound if you release the button, and we add it to the scene. Simple enough to understand. We've done this a few times by now, so that's why I'm just running through it. It's easier than constantly typing out because you've seen it, I've typed it. We should both by now understand what is going on, so I just want to, for the sake of completion, give you the full source code line by line, but without having to type it all out. Anyways, next up is the back button. We say it's a new FLX button at 0.00 with the text of go back. It has the lambda function to fade to black and switch to a new state. Back button, actually this could have just been a separate function where we pass the state that we want to switch to, and I kind of feel dumb for not thinking of it, but this works as well. If I'd done it like I'm thinking just now, it would have saved a lot of typing and a lot of lines of code. It would have saved easily 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of code, 12 lines of code. Actually, no, wait, there's 5 buttons, so it's 24 lines of code would have been saved if I had just created a separate function and passed the state. But this is more specific and shows you what we have intended rather than hiding things with weird programming things. In any case, we center it in the screen on the x-axis. It is below the back, below the boss button. It has this button press sound, and then we add it to the scene. We can now save that, and for the sake of not forgetting, let's quickly create these. So right click, we say level 3 state dot hx. Oh, now you want to start adding those. In any case, we can probably do something like this just to make it a bit easier, where it is level 3 state and extends the FLX state, and then we just give it the curly braces. Next up is level 2 state, so create new file, level 2 state.hx, save it, change the name to level 2 state, and then just give it the curly braces, which that was a mistake. In any case, on to level 1 state.hx, same as before, level 1 state extends FLX state, and we give it the curly braces. And next up, I just want to see what I called it, boss level state.hx, boss level state extends FLX state, and then the curly braces, and that should be about it because menu state already exists. Awesome. Now we can open level 1 state.hx. This is part of what we're going to do today. I figured it's a bit easier since we've already done it. We can just do more at a time, go a bit faster, and no knowledge would be lost. I won't fry your brain because we're going too fast. Any case, as before with the copy and paste, since I have no IntelliSense currently because VS Code and plugins, I guess. Any case, we import FLX color, melee monster dot melee type, FLX object, FLX G, FLX sound, FLX bar, FLX target, tile map, FLX Ogmo 3 loader from the Flixel add-ons. Then we have Flixel typed group and Flixel state, or FLX state and FLX typed group. Next up is the class variables, which you have also seen. In this case, you would have probably seen it in the melee test state. So we have seriously, you can't even, can we please not? Are you really telling me? Okay, wait, I'm just gonna Control C and we're gonna speed do this. So asset path that's generated, boss level state has it, boss monster state does not, so we can quickly save that, close these two. Boss test state, scroll all the way to the top, it does not have it, so we can give it. Level 1 state has a 2, 3. Level select state, does that have it? It does not appear to have it, so we can just close those two. Main, we can just make this source melee monster.hx, can add that. Melee test state, add that. Menu state, make it package source. I'm probably ruining the code and we're about to have a lot of compile time bugs, but it's easier than fighting what's generated each time, I guess. Like, it's by no means necessary. On your side, you can probably just leave it, because why would you want it? But since it's getting generated each time, we can just add it in. It just says that it's under the source file, so all of these files are more enough in the same namespace, I guess, and that should be it. Now we can close all of these millions and millions. I love how the file that I created from scratch without everything is the one that works. Like, really. Any guess? Let's just make sure it works. So we say cls line test hl-debug. Gonna quickly compile. If there's errors, we'll be back. If there's not, we'll still be back. No, there's errors, and I'm gonna cry. What we did was completely unnecessary, and the editor should feel bad about itself. So if we just go and remove that, or I guess we just have to remove the source part. Like, is that what you want from us? Do we just have to remove the source part every time? I know there's probably a better way to do this, and you might be on your side screaming at me as to why I'm making the video unnecessarily long, but I'm the one that's going to end up editing this, so let's just say I will get punished either way for this wasting of time. I'll probably maybe even cut it out of the video, who knows? Well, you probably know since you're watching this. So I'm just gonna run through and remove all of these. I probably won't cut it because I'm really lazy with how I edit things. Like, I usually just cut out the parts that don't have sound. I don't even watch the rest. I just go through. If there's, like, on the audio thing, I can see there's no proper like waves, and I go, well, I probably didn't talk. We can just cut this part out for the sake of being faster. So let's see. I've been doing too much cross programming. Line test hl-debug. So that's gonna compile. Let's see if we have any mistakes. Okay, it compiled. Note to future me, package should just be package. It should not have anything else, and that's a lesson learned today. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little lesson that was unscripted and unplanned. In any case, back to this. So we have a player variable, a melee monster typed group, a projectiles typed group, a map, walls, amount of monsters, since we need to keep track so that if that amount goes to 0, we can say, okay, cool, you won the game, let's move on with our life. Then we have a health bar, background music, and sound effects. It sounds good across the board. Awesome. So now we can say override function create. Can we please stop being so useless? Thank you. So first things first, let's load the map into the world. So we have flx.worldbounds.set -1000 from -1000 and -1000 on the x and y, and then just move 2000 and 2000, and that's how big our world bounds is. We then go and load the map. I probably don't have these files yet, and I should go down. I don't know why I didn't. In any case, walls equals map.load tile map assets floor, and it's on the walls layer. We want the camera to not go outside of it. We set the tile properties for the first one to collide on any of the sides, and the floor tiles we don't want any collision detection for, and then we add the walls to our scene. We just save. Cool. Next up is the projectile. So as usual, we say projectiles equals new HaxeFlixel type group projectile, and then just add that to the scene. And as you probably saw, I just quickly went and got everything so that it's all sorted out. In any case, next let's add the player to the scene, and here it's going to be a bit different. We don't run the function to set the player on the right position just yet. We just say player is at 0.00 and just add it to the scene. We'll move the player later after everything has been loaded, because we'll load the monsters and the player at the same time. Next we say the player the camera should follow the player on a top down position. Next we add the melee monsters to the scene. Then we say amount of monsters equals 0, and then we go in the map, load entities. We run a function called init entities, so initialize entities on the entities layer. Now you'll notice that this is a bit different than how it usually was. It's usually melee monsters or player or whatever layer. This time just load the entities layer, and then we'll sort it out as we go. Next, let's load the health bar. We set it at 0.00. It goes from left to right. It is 100 wide with 10 high. It's connected to the player. It's a health bar. Its minimum is 0, its maximum is 100, and it indeed has a border. We then use that health bar to create a full bar with the empty space being red, the full space being green, and it does indeed have a border. We track the health bar to the player at 20 pixels above and to the right of the player, and then we add the health bar to our scene. Next, background music. We say asset path, and then we just load the 5 background music tracks into that array. Then we say flxg.sound.play music, and then we choose a random track from our array. We set its volume to 1, and we say that it should not be looped. And then on complete, so when it stops, we specifically want to say flxg.sound.music equals null, so that in the update function, when it is null, we can trigger to say, okay, start the next song again. We load all the assets, the sound assets files that we'll need, which includes the firebolt, icebolt, poison bolt, shock bolt, the player getting hit, the skeletons getting hit, and the zombies getting hit. We all put it in an array, and then we'll just remember that it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we just call super.create. As easy as that. Next up is our update function. So override function update, not update pointer, update elapsed, and it's a look. If I can spell for the life of me, let me just undo so I can do that. Okay, so this was auto edited for me. I have no control over it. So we say if the music is null, just start the next random track with a volume of 1 and false on the loop. We say if the player's health is less than 100, then just add the amount of time that has been elapsed so that it simulates healing. So the elapse is the time between frames. This will allow us to have all the player my character heal at the same speed that your character is, even though your computer might be running faster than mine, or mine might be running faster than yours. So if yours is running slower, that elapsed time will be bigger, so yours will heal in bigger chunks, but in the end it will heal at the same speed in real time. So if the player's health goes to below or equal to 0, then just restart this state, and that's what this reset state means. We don't have a death and win screen just yet, so in the case of death, just reset so that the player can play the level again. If the amount of monsters is less or equal to 0, then jump to level select state so that we can choose the next level. And notice how I set the death one to red and the victory one to green, to give the player a bit of to show the player that, well, they died or they won, so they can react depending on what they see. So next we say health bar.value equals health equals the player's health, so that it can keep track of the player's health. We then call a function called handle input, and I ended up moving the pause menu and the shooting all into one function, since it's all just input that's being done. Next, for each projectile that is still alive, we call a lambda function so that we don't have to have separate functions every time. So it's pretty easy in this situation. So I remove the HaxeFlixel path finding and just went with the OG one. So we say projectile, and if that projectile has been alive for longer than two units, then kill it. And then for each monster alive, just move. So in this case, that would be move to attack the player. So we can just move the bar back there and save. I hate it when it does that, but there isn't much we can do about it. Yes. Next, you'll notice that I used a lot of lambda functions in this one because I wanted to give a bit of variety and show you that you don't have to use separate functions every time. You can use lambda functions to just group up tiny bits of information. So I tend to use actual functions in situations where functions are needed, rather than just saying, well, I don't want to use lambdas, let's go name a function that will only be used once in set situation. So if the melee monster collides with the projectile and the projectile was spawned by the player, then kill the monster and kill the projectile, and then depending on what monster was killed, play the sound effect for that monster. Okay, let me scroll down. The next one, player and monster collision detection. So if the player collides with the monster or monster collides with the player, take 10 health from the player's health and play the sound where the player gets hit. The monster doesn't really feel the pain, so we don't really care about that. Next up, projectiles and wall collision. If a projectile collides with the wall, just destroy the projectile. Next, we want the player and the monsters to both be able to collide with the wall. That's why we have collision detection with those. And then finally, we just call super.update and we pass the elapsed time. Next, let's load in the entities. So we have a private function, init entities, like we've seen on top, receives entity data. Then we have a switch case to loop over each of the types of entities. So we say entity.name. If it's player, then set the player's position where that the player is on the Ogma map. If it's a monster, then we create a variable called monster type that holds the types of monsters we can have, and then we spawn a random melee monster at that point. You can see it's melee. It spawns and it adds a new melee monster to the typed group of melee monsters, and it adds it at the entity.x and entity.y positions. It targets the player, and then it just gives it a random type between those two, and it increments the amount of monsters by 1. If we find an entity that's neither a player nor a monster, throw an error showing that it's an unrecognized actor type, so we know that maybe we messed up, and so that we don't spawn like the boss monster in the first level. And then last but not least, handle input. So if the flxg.mouse.just press, so if we just click the left mouse button, then it's the usual get the mouse position, create a new projectile in the middle of the player graphics midpoint, and then say that it should go to the mouse position, get the projectile type from the player. We will later add a heads up display where the player can choose the projectile type, and then we finally say that the projectile was spawned by the player. We play the fire animation from the player, and then we take 1 health from the player. Then we play the sound effect depending on what type of projectile we just shot. So if it was a firebolt, play the firebolt, ice bolts, poison bolt, shock bolts, and so forth. If we press the escape key, then create a substate of pause menu. And that's about it for level 1. Let's see if we press Ctrl tilde, CLS, line test hl-debug. This will compile the code and we'll be able to see if what we did worked. Okay, so the game has loaded. We can say play. We go to the level select screen. If we press level 1, it's going to load, and there you can see it is working. We can get the monsters coming towards us. We can shoot them, make sure that no one touches us, and there you saw we died and it respawned us. And if we press escape, it goes to the pause menu where we can say exit to desktop. And that is it for the first level, and it's the first of, well, last of the one of the last steps that we have left before we have a completed desktop game. If you enjoyed this week's tutorial, feel free to drop a like, subscribe, maybe recommend the channel to your friends and family so that I can one day hopefully get monetized and turn this into my full-time job, or at least part-time job. In any case, until next week, thank you for watching. I hope you have an awesome week, and goodbye.